On May the 1st this year, with the English county elections, they were cancelled in East Sussex, Essex, Hampshire, Norfolk, Suffolk, Surrey and West Sussex. Angela Rayner, then Deputy Prime Minister, simply cancelled the elections, said they're delayed by a year. Coincidentally, they were all areas in which it was thought that Reform would win. Well, can you believe it? The Tory leaders of these councils have now written to the government asking for them to be postponed yet again. And in two cases, Tory council leaders openly saying they want the elections to be cancelled because they fear Reform will win. Now, it looks like the Labour government will accede to this demand, and once again, democracy will be denied in all of these counties. That is a complete, total outrage. It'll mean that people elected back in 2021 will be serving 6, 7, who knows how long their terms will be. We are launching this petition because we intend to lobby government as hard as possible to say, why on earth should people pay their council tax if they don't get the chance to vote for people that implement policies that affect their lives locally? So please sign our petition, sign it in large numbers. Let's object to democracy being delayed yet again.
Nigel Farage's speech reads like a cry from a man who believes the very heart of English democracy has been ripped out and sold to cowardice. His tone is not merely political. It is almost elegiac, as if mourning a nation that once prided itself on its fairness and courage. He begins with a simple recounting of facts. Elections cancelled in 7 English counties: East Sussex, Essex, Hampshire, Norfolk, Suffolk, Surrey, and West Sussex. But beneath that list lies a deeper accusation, that the machinery of power, both Labour and Conservative, has colluded to silence the will of the people. Farage frames the moment as not just administrative failure, but betrayal, the betrayal of democracy itself. His words throb with a populist rhythm, deliberately looping phrases like cancelled, delayed, and denied to hammer home the absurdity of elected officials refusing to let the public elect again. The speech is a masterclass in controlled fury. When he asks, why on earth should people pay their council tax if they don't get the chance to vote? He isn't merely questioning policy. He is attacking legitimacy, planting the idea that obedience to such a government is itself undemocratic. There's an echo of Orwell here, a warning that England's quiet bureaucrats are becoming what they once despised. And yet Farage's tone is not despairing. Beneath the outrage is an invitation to rebellion, not through violence, but through civic defiance. Petitions, signatures, and voices raised against the complacent machine of power. In the end, this is more than a campaign speech. It is a piece of political theater written in the language of betrayal and revival. A rallying call to those who believe the old England, the one of free men and fair votes, is being smothered under the polite tyranny of modern politics.
Powerful figures, Rob, in the book who might be a little nervous.
Plenty of figures. I mean, well, first of all, I'll deal with Donald Trump. He's in there, but actually comes out pretty well, treats her nicely, actually throws Epstein out of his club, Mar-a-Lago, as we know. There are people who are not named, and there is a former Prime Minister who is particularly brutal in his treatment of her, and I should be very clear, there are no other identifying details. Please don't start listing British Prime Ministers you can think of. I know there are online some names floating around.
But she doesn't mention who it is?
She doesn't say anything about who it is, so I presume they are still alive and therefore would likely to be litigious. There are a number of high-profile scientists. Some are mentioned, some are not, because you remember Epstein was funding the work of a lot of high-profile scientists. They are in there. There is a story about Ghislaine Maxwell and George Clooney that she used to boast about. The story has been out there before. It's not exclusive to this, but how she serviced him in a cupboard in some way.
Ghislaine Maxwell did.
Ghislaine Maxwell. There are all sorts of names that crop up. Some of them, some of them just in passing, and she'll mention actually that person was very, very pleasant. Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, is in there, and she talks about being encouraged to massage his feet, and that's as far as it goes. So Bill Clinton, of course, is in there. The famous trip to Africa that they made with Kevin Spacey on board. No suggestion of any impropriety. So it's an extraordinary galaxy of figures, and some of the worst offenders, shall we say, aren't named.
But when I've no doubt the lawyers have been through this with a fine-tooth comb, and sometimes I think these kind of books get a little castrated in that process, which is unfortunate.
Right.
But as a reader, are you left to draw some conclusions about how could anybody of sane mind been amongst that crowd in the room with the massage beds? It is not normal to have your friends round to a house and there to be a young girl who massages your feet. I think people will be implicated, I imagine, just because how do you explain away that you couldn't see it? Yeah,
there are young girls everywhere, and there is art. Look, some of the most famous paintings in the world are nude images, right? But the sorts of descriptions of pictures that Epstein had go beyond what we might see in a museum or a gallery. Also, he had a cupboard that was filled with photographs of naked young women. It's one of the birthday presents she describes in here for Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell gets her undressed and takes pictures of her. So I don't understand how you could exist in that world and not have questions. But what I will say is, if you are a rich and powerful man and you wear a nice suit and you have a $200 haircut, you can get away with a lot of stuff.
It's surprising.
Telegraph journalist Rob Crilly's remark, Donald Trump is named, but he actually comes out pretty well. A former prime minister is said to have been particularly brutal, quietly signals the explosive potential of Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir. In just one line, Crilly contrasts reputational survival with moral ruin. Trump emerges relatively unscathed, while an unnamed former prime minister faces harsh condemnation. The omission of that name turns the statement into a loaded silence, inviting speculation and anxiety across Britain's political class. More than gossip, the quote suggests the memoir may expose how the powerful navigate scandal, some shielded by influence, others consumed by it, turning the Epstein saga from a personal crime story into a portrait of systemic corruption and moral decay.